Alright, so Supergirl the movie came out June 26, 2026. And if you didn't know, that movie is based off the comic book Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is a story that basically features Supergirl, some random chick, and Krypto going through space to track down a ruthless killer. Now, since the movie just came out, I haven't seen it yet, but I'll tell you what I have seen.
Online about Kara's queerness in the comics, was that something that you explored when you were preparing for the role?
It wasn't, but in honor of Pride Month, as I'm getting all these questions, I don't know. I think that what makes this film so beautiful is that it's not centered around a man. It's not centered around love at all, if anything.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I don't really know. But I don't know. I don't know.
It's great.
She'd probably go both ways.
Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, oh great, another dumb white chick online talking about gay shit. What does Supergirl's sexuality have to do with the story? Absolutely nothing, but they're talking about it for some reason. And as far as Supergirl being bisexual, I've only read in her alternate versions that she may have some other love interests besides men, but Prime Earth Supergirl is straight, as she always should be. You make a character gay in a comic book series or in an anime series, suddenly their whole personality is that they're gay. We don't need any more of that in the DC universe. There's already plenty of gay characters in the DC universe. You got the Midnighter, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy. Matter of fact, most of you probably never even heard of the Midnighter. And I can tell you why you haven't heard of him. It's because he's lame. And all people think about when they see him is gay. And when it comes to established characters like Supergirl, the thought of changing her sexuality just to fit modern audiences just feels wrong. You could never make Batman gay, you can never make Superman gay, and you can never make Supergirl gay. It just wouldn't work. They've been around for too long. So the fact that I hear actors talking like this just shows that they're not real fans of the comics or the character they're portraying. And speaking of the Supergirl in this 2026 movie, I won't comment on this one just yet since I haven't seen the movie, but many have seen the movie. And from what I've heard others say, it is.
Now, Supergirl is bad.
This movie just didn't have it.
What were they thinking?
I'm honestly surprised by just how terrible the movie actually is.
So far on Rotten Tomatoes, it seems that the movie is not doing all that great. I also heard that the main villain of the movie kind of sucks. I heard that the plot sucks, and the only real thing good about it is that Jason Momoa is playing the main man, Lobo. And I do like the character Lobo, so I may watch it. But unfortunately, what I also heard is that Lobo doesn't show up that much, which is just tragic. Now, enough of the gay stuff, viewers, because it's time to talk about my opinion on certain waifus, part 7! At least, I think it's 7. Night, what number am I on? Fat bitch, don't call me! Oh! Calling me a bitch is one thing, but fat? Oh yeah, just like I thought. It's all muscle. And what's with this background? Editor, change it! Change it now! It burns my eyes! Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now, for those who don't know the character of Supergirl, let me explain her character in vivid detail. First things first, Supergirl's real name is Kara Zor-El, but on Earth, her human name is Kara Danvers. And in most iterations of this character, she is the cousin of Superman, the older cousin of Superman. Now, she's older than Superman because when he was just being born on Krypton, she was already a teenager. And when Superman was sent to Earth by his parents, Kara was intended to follow and care for Superman, so she was put on a ship following his. But her ship was apparently trapped in a time warp, leaving her to arrive on Earth decades later. But by this time, Superman is already an adult. Now, Supergirl a lot of times is portrayed in her 20s, but chronologically in the main timeline, she should be around her 40s, if not more. Now, despite this, her overall personality is a little bit more nuanced than Superman. And for those who don't know, yes, nuance basically means complex. Because unlike her cousin, she has lived a life on Krypton before it was destroyed. So she is filled with trauma and grief. Now, like you already know, the main Supergirl's powers are very pretty much like Superman's powers. You know, super strength, speed, laser eyes, and also a weakness to kryptonite. But I've also read that she doesn't hold back like her cousin. Superman is a Boy Scout. He's a lot nicer, but Kara doesn't have that mentality. Now, is she more powerful than Superman? Hell no. Superman has more experience, more feats, and canonically better control over his powers than Kara does. Now, my personal thoughts about the main Supergirl are mixed. She's a great character, but I honestly feel like she's just Superman with boobs. And I mean, a writer could make great stories with Supergirl because she's a lot more edgier than Clark. But unless she's going to be in a miniskirt through all her adventures, I don't want to see it. Seriously, anytime she shows up for a fight in a comic book or a TV show, I'm just like, huh, she looks great. But considering this life-threatening, dangerous situation we're in, I think I'd rather have Superman here, not the Superman copycat. And I mean, I do get it. She's supposed to be her own person and not Superman. But you wear his symbols and wear his colors. If they were trying to make a character that stands out from Superman, in my book, they failed. Yes, she's a different person and she's a woman, but besides that, what's so special about her? And while her perspective on life is different because she basically grew up on Krypton, I don't see that as a very interesting, oh my god type thing. Honestly, I would say Crypto is more of an interesting character than her. Because at least with him, I have questions. Like, but with Supergirl, I'm more like,
Many more times do I have to fucking ask? How big are those titties, bitch?
and speaking of the tickle biggies, my next favorite Supergirl is Power Girl. Now, if I'm being honest, this one stands out way more than the original Supergirl. She has short hair, a boob window, a different color outfit, super thighs that save lives, a boob window. She's older and more mature looking than the original Supergirl. She has a boob window, and she has blue eyes, but no one's looking at them because they're too busy staring at that awesome boob window. I love that thing. Anyways, Power Girl is basically Supergirl, but better. She's supposed to be older, more experienced, and even more voluptuous. Yeah. And she's from Earth 2 in the DC universe, which means she's from a parallel universe that typically features reimagined or older iterations of classic characters. Now, from what I've read, after universe-altering events like Crisis on Infinite Earths, the storyline, she was stranded in the main DC universe, which is basically Earth 0 or Prime Earth, which is where all the main characters of the DC universe live. And as far as I've read, she's been there ever since. Which means, yes, she should be in the main continuity with the main Supergirl. Now, the worst thing about this character, obviously, is that her backstory is everywhere because of the multiverse. So I won't explain much of her backstory for this video, because that may literally take hours. But just know, it is complicated, but that's not really important. The important thing here is, she's hot. And as far as her costume and name, she's more unique than Supergirl. From what I read, she chose her name Power Girl to avoid being seen as a sidekick for her version of Superman. Plus, the whole reason she has a boob window in the first place is because she wanted to leave that space blank because she wanted to be her own independent hero and she never settled on an emblem to fill it. That's okay though, that's why I belong anyway. Now, the next best Supergirl in my opinion is the one from the DCAU, which is the one that started in the Superman animated series, and the same character is also in the Justice League Unlimited show. Now, this Supergirl canonically is on Earth 12, and she grew up on the sister planet of Krypton called Argos, and when she's first introduced in Superman the animated series, she is 16 years old. But even in this universe, she still is technically a lot older than Clark. But her age honestly doesn't really matter because by Justice League Unlimited, she's celebrating her 21st birthday. So honestly, don't even think about her age that much because it will just confuse you. Now, my number one reason for loving this Supergirl is because in one episode, she completely exceeded my expectations of her. In Justice League Unlimited, Season 3, Episode 10, titled Far From Home, Supergirl has to fight the mind-controlled legion of superheroes. And more or less, these superheroes are basically superheroes of the future. Or more specifically, they operate in the 30th and 31st centuries of the DC universe. And they were mind-controlled by the Fatal Five, a 31st century villain group. Now, when I was a young cat, I remember the fight starting like this. This moment made me respect this character completely. There was no talking in this moment, no backstory, just straight hands, and I loved it. Now, she didn't win this fight by herself. The goal was to get rid of the mind control, which her teammates at the time succeeded in. Now, if they didn't succeed, she may have been cooked, but she would have went out badass as hell. Now, I think the only other Supergirl that impressed me combat-wise in animation was one from the Batman/Superman Apocalypse movie. And this movie came out September 28, 2010. And it's a direct predecessor to the Superman/Batman Public Enemies movie made in 2009. Now, Superman/Batman Apocalypse was based off the story Supergirl from Krypton, or more or less basically when Superman realizes he has a cousin. Now, in this movie, she is portrayed as 16, even though yes, technically she is older than that, and she is pretty immature and she barely knows how to control her powers, which one night in the movie basically leads to Wonder Woman kidnapping her with the Amazons for some reason, and just taking her to Themyscira, the home of the Amazons, to train her, which is obviously kidnapping and wrong, so yeah. Now, if you've seen this movie, you know that this is the same movie where Supergirl was kidnapped by Darkseid, brainwashed, and turned into the captain of the Female Furies, and given a pretty, oh my, that's not Christian. Jesus wouldn't like that. What did Darkseid do, make her join the OnlyFans too? Anyway, she's saved from this, and eventually in the movie, she has to fight Darkseid himself, alone, on a farm, like she Rambo, but with no guns, with just hands and feet and power. And she is putting the paws of Krypton on Darkseid. I remember in one scene, Darkseid shoots his Omega beams, and she dodges them and flies behind Darkseid, which catches him off guard. And in the next moment, man's in the air upside down screaming. This Supergirl went from not knowing how to use her powers to fighting literally one of the strongest characters in the DC universe. And while not winning, she did put up a decent fight. Now, the other Supergirls I gotta talk about are ones that some of y'all know very well because they're newer, and it's the extremely sexy black-haired Supergirl, first seen in the 2023 Flash movie, played by the actor Sasha Calle. And this Supergirl is famous for all the wrong and right reasons. First off, I just watched this movie, so I must say, great Supergirl, bad movie. The old Batman was pretty cool, but the Flash character was kind of annoying, both of them. And I mean, not to spoil the plot, but they basically started their own problem and anticlimactically fixed their own problem. Now, the Supergirl in this movie worth it? She's hot, but honestly, she seems a lot weaker than this universe's Superman. And honestly, since this is a character from a different Earth, I have to tell you that her Clark was killed by Zod, apparently when he was a baby. And when this Supergirl first arrived on Earth, she was captured and tortured in an old base in Siberia until Barry, old Batman, and Lil Barry came and saved her. So this Supergirl does not trust humans at all. But since the Flash did save her from that old base, she decided to side with a little group. Now once this happened, they went out to fight Zod, and they got their asses handed to them. This Supergirl, for the life of her, cannot beat Zod even with the suit on. Henry Cavill's Superman was able to push Zod so far that he had to get out of the suit and adapt to Earth's atmosphere. But with this Supergirl, he just stabs her and she dies. Now for those who don't know who Zod is, yes, he is Kryptonian, and he basically does have all the powers that Superman and Supergirl has. Except, you know, he's... Now I will always love how this Supergirl looks. The black hair works perfectly for this character, and this Supergirl is way sexier than this 2026 one. But I honestly think that the Supergirl in My Adventures with Superman is most fans' favorite. But why is that? Could it be because she looks somewhat like Android 18 from Dragon Ball Z? Or could it be her blunt, direct, and demanding personality that she first shows up with? Those are good reasons, but I think the main reason is because she is fucking adorable! Now she first started off in her story brainwashed by Brainiac. But now, once Brainiac is gone, she is what I like to call pleasant to watch on screen. She is blunt, innocent, and tomboyish, and she is infatuated with Jimmy Olsen, Superman's best friend. But for some reason, Jimmy Olsen wants to be the mature guy and wants Supergirl to go out and explore the world while getting her back blown out by multiple other guys. He thinks that she could do better than him. Now his way of thinking is very mature, but if I was in this situation, I'm trying to hit that before anybody else. I'm trying to turn Supergirl into Superwoman. I don't give a damn if she ain't experienced the world yet. She is in her 20s and she has seen the universe and destroyed parts of it. Now it's time for her to settle down, be a hero, and destroy my parts. Jimmy is fumbling, Lois Lane has told him he's fumbling, and it hurts me. You gonna let someone else, some bigger, better guy, put this face in the mattress before you, Jimmy? I don't think so. Hell no, could not be me. Matter of fact, I'm not sure if you black, but you dark enough. So black card revoked. He can have it back when he stops being a mature idiot. Cause for crying out loud, Jimmy, get the buns first and think about the rest later. This is a Supergirl, and the cute ones are always freaks. Now, let me focus. As far as the Supergirl's past, yes, she is the cousin of Superman, but in this universe, she was intercepted and brainwashed by Brainiac while traveling to Earth by ship. And Brainiac basically brainwashed her to be an enforcer. And his goal was to create a twisted version of Krypton in his image. And to do this, he used Supergirl to go to different planets and demolish any planet he deems unworthy. And from what I read, she destroyed at least 3 planets by herself. Meaning, yes, this Supergirl definitely is more powerful than Drag from Invincible, Omni-Man, and Invincible. Now, for those who don't believe me, remember, she is Kryptonian. Now, I also have to add that she wasn't aware that she did this because of the brainwashing, and Brainiac also wiped her memories. But she does eventually find out what she's done, and she breaks free from Brainiac's control with Superman's help, and she joins Superman on Earth as Supergirl, and currently in the story, she is looking for a mate, which Jimmy Olsen apparently turned down because he's an idiot. Damn you, Jimmy. Damn! I don't know whether I want to smack him or start crying for him. Bro missed out on the opportunity to see Supergirl go from cute and cuddly to Invincible's Vanessa levels of abuse. Damn! I'm mad. Now y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments, and y'all have a good day. Bye!